Tomorrow night we have a big storm coming. Depending on the weather model, it could be up to a force 9. We are here in Newtown, in that area here, and so this is that big low that is blowing through from Monday to Tuesday, and if we just start playing this going, we'll have a bit of everything. It should be about 12 hours from tomorrow evening until Tuesday morning, and we are now going to prepare Polaris for that big blow so that we're safe and secure.
Also, dann machen wir eine Liste und schreiben auf, was wir alles noch erledigen.
We are currently at the mooring buoy and we have 2 lines with chain reinforcements on already, but we're gonna put on 2 more lines just to be safe. We will roll the Genoa a bit tighter and we're gonna secure it so that it can't unfurl in a big blow. We're going to prepare the inner forestay and the storm sail for hoisting, just in case.
Das ist ein Plan D wahrscheinlich.
We will fold down the bimini to reduce the windage and avoid storm damage to it, and we will pack away the dinghy so that in case we're not going to be disturbed by it. So these are the big things. Of course, I'm going to check the engine, I'm going to check the bilges, we're going to close the sea cocks. That's all smaller things. We're going to put in some more water in the tanks, so just to be ready on that side as well. These are the smaller things I'm going to add here. We're gonna have some wild weather over the next 24 hours. It's gonna be a classical depression approaching and going over our head, probably with the center of the low directly over our heads. And I thought I'm gonna make a video to document that textbook event, how it could unfold. Luckily, the forecasts have improved from a couple of days in the past. We've seen forecasts of up to 50-55 knots. Now it has come down to a rather more benign 30 to 40 maybe, so that's a force 8, which will be much more manageable for everyone that is moored in here. We have chosen to pick up a mooring buoy simply for the fact that the space is so restricted here that we could not pay out enough anchor chain. So with winds predicted as they are, we would probably have to pay out chain of about 6 to 7 times water depth. With a water depth of 10 meters at high tide, that means we would have to pay out 60 to 70 meters, which would give us an enormous swinging circle, which simply we don't have the space in here. So we considered it safer to take up a mooring buoy and do it in weather the storm here. On the first picture here, 6 o'clock this morning, we see the low approaching from the southwest, approaching the French coast. It's still quite calm with westerly, southwesterly winds on the Isles of Scilly. That's what we're currently experiencing. 9 o'clock in the morning, we see the low approaching closer, still about 200 miles out, and the low shows at 994 millibars, so quite a good one. We can expect some strong winds, which we also see in the colors. 12 o'clock, the low has moved on, slightly deepened to 991. And now we see at 3 o'clock this afternoon that we should start feeling it on the Isles of Scilly, with a southeasterly wind starting blowing in. That's the start of that depression coming in. It has further gone down to 989 hectopascal. At 6 o'clock in the evening, the wind should start turning towards south, and the low, still deepening, is approaching. 9 o'clock in the evening, we should have the low almost over us, so we would expect the winds to go down, still southerly, but to actually ease off a bit. And whilst the low passes over our head between 9 o'clock and midnight tonight, we might have a situation with almost no wind before the wind then, as we see on the midnight picture here, as the wind will start coming in from the north. So a complete switch. We then see the backside of this low, with the winds turning from north to northwest, freshening up again at 3 o'clock. And tomorrow at 6 o'clock, most should be over. The winds are turning more westerly and going down. And 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, we should be almost back to normal. We will see the aftermath, obviously, quite a big swell probably, and winds from the west, which is normal, which are prevailing winds. It's time to finalize preparations for the storm coming up. There's a few measures I want to take, like furling the genoa a little bit more. Also gonna secure the furling system so that we don't have an accidental break and the genoa can unfurl accidentally, which would not be very nice in high winds. So that's gonna be on the front. I'm going to fix this shackle here through the little hole, if it goes through then.
Stick.
There you go. Now I need a place where to fix it. We're gonna do that around here. This is another lead for the genoa sheet, so that I can free this one off and this one off, so we can run the storm jib sheets through if needed. You won't need the spinnaker line, so I'm gonna take them off. I decided to take the very big long line. It's a 25 millimeters thick 3-strand line. It's about 50 meters, much too long, but I think it's the strongest one, so we're gonna take this as a third safety line to fix us at the mooring. These are the anti-chafe sleeve. I'm gonna put that here where the line goes through the fair lead, so it doesn't chafe on the line, but it chafes on the sleeve.
Noch über die Brille. Ah, jetzt ist gut.
We have pulled the third line, the safety line through the chain down there, and this will go back to the midship cleats. It's the thickest one of them all. Should the other two not hold, we have the third one that should save us for a while. So we're now attached with 3 lines, which should be okay. I just took a nice video sentence, but I found that I didn't switch on the microphone, so let's take another take. It's now 12 o'clock. An update on the situation. The wind is still calm. There's not a lot going on that side, but we now see the barometer falling. The barometer has dropped from 1010 in the 1006 in the morning down to 1003 where we are at the moment. It's going to continue to drop over the next hours. We expect the low being at 990, so there's a good other 13 millibars to fall, which is quite a steep drop actually, and will bring quite some wind, we expect. From the clouds we can see a small change from this morning. We had a high sheet of cloud cover coming in, covering the sun very high up, and I said this will come down. It will come down. If you look towards the west, we see clouds moving in slowly, and I just felt the first drops of rain on my face. That's what is gonna start now. We're gonna see some rain coming. It's now half an hour later, 12:30, just after lunch, and we see now it started raining outside, and the wind has picked up slightly. It's coming from southeast now, which was to be expected. Everything goes according to plan and has freshened up to about the force 4, about 15 knots or so, so very benign at the moment, but that will soon change. Well, it's now 3 o'clock and outside it's really not nice. It's raining quite strongly. The wind has picked up. We have at the moment between 17 and 25 knots of wind, so still not too much. That's force 5 to maybe 6. Not too exciting. Looking at the barometer, this has continued to fall. We're now at 998, so this has been now quite a steady fall over the past few hours, which indicates the blow to continue. The wind is still blowing from southeast. So this still tells us that the low is still approaching. Everything is according to the model and how it develops. So we'll see how we're gonna go into the evening. The barometric pressure has steadily fallen from 1002 to 993 hectopascals. Not too steep a fall, which does indicate that the winds should not be too strong. That's also what we see. The winds have been gusting only about 4-6, about maybe 25 knots at maximum, and have stayed below 20 knots normally with just plenty of rain. So also the winds have come from a southeasterly or easterly direction, which indicates that the low, the center of the low, is probably passing slightly south of us and we're getting the north end. To me, this is an indication that it might not get as worse as we initially thought. Probably the winds will remain like this in a easterly direction before turning south, but not too strong, I would expect, until the center of the low passes. And once this has passed on the backside, there might be some strong winds upon us from the northwest. Directly after that might be in the early hours of tomorrow. We will see how that develops, but I would not expect the winds actually to go up too high. It's 7:30 in the evening and the weather has improved. We even see some blue sky over there and the rain has stopped. The wind is still a bit gusty, about 4 or 5 forces, which means around 20 to 25 knots. And this indicates that we are now near the center of this storm. So the eye of the storm is roughly over us. The air pressure has fallen to 991 hectopascals, which is also close to the predicted low. So my idea of the whole system is that we now have the center of the low above us, and we will soon see a wind shift from the north. So we have an easterly wind now. Maybe it will turn shortly to south, and then we will have it from the north, and that's going to be interesting how much wind we're going to get from that direction. Can't be much more, but we shall see. Interesting evening. It's 9 o'clock in the evening. After a few glimpses of sun, the clouds have come back and another drizzle is just building up. The barometer has fallen further to 989 hectopascal, so that will be the low actually that is expected. And the wind is now starting to turn from an easterly direction to southerly. We have a southeast at the moment, but it was really east before, so we see the wind turning back, and I would expect it to turn to north and to become stronger within the next few hours. It's now 11 o'clock at night. The wind has completely stopped. The rain has completely stopped. It's just silence. Barometer is still at 998 hectopascal, so we're at the center of the low, and sometime soon it will start again. Stay tuned. The wind has now changed to northeast. It's 20 minutes later, 20 past 11. Still dead calm, but it's from northeast, and it will freshen up in the next couple of hours or minutes. We'll see. Quick update. It's 12 o'clock midnight, and slowly the wind starts picking up from the north, and it's currently turning our boat the other way around. We swing a circle, and soon it's gonna pick up, I think. We shall see. Here we see our boat has during the whole day swung in this direction, so first with a northwesterly wind and then into the southerly and easterly wind, and now it has turned around with its bow pointing towards the north, where the wind comes from. It's 20 past midnight. We can see that after a long drop, the barometer pressure has bottomed out and is now starting to rise again. We are at 991 hectopascal, which is 2 up from the bottom. It's still 20 past midnight, and we see the wind is starting to pick up from the north, force 4. We saw that drop here and now it starts rising again. Let's see how high it gets. It's 20 minutes to 1 in the morning. Wind has freshened up to a force 4 now, 15 knots. Just quickly checking after the other boats. There is Whisper down there. Nebula is over here. So we seem to be fine. The wind is blowing us nicely apart from each other. Looks all fine. So the wind has freshened up now. It's 20 to 2, and in quite a short time we are seeing a 4-7 gusting 8 through that bay. That's how it looks outside. Hæ? Vi kommer inte för det, nej, säkert så, men inte för det. Past 3 in the morning, bright and early. The situation has changed slightly. The winds, which were very high here just after 2 o'clock, we had winds gusting force 9, so over 44 knots. They come down now. We're in a 5 to 7, so they're dying down. Hardly over 30 knots now, and I think the most ferocious part of this storm is now over. It will go into today's day until it fully calms down, but I think the worst we have seen. Well, good morning. Just having my first sip of coffee, which is really good. 8:30 in the morning, everything's over. We're still fighting with a bit of swell from yesterday evening, which can be quite uncomfortable at times, but that will abate and we're gonna be fine. The situation has normalized again. On the graph here we see very well over the last 24 hours how the wind built. Then when the center of the storm came, when the wind picked up again in the morning at 1 o'clock and how it died down again. We fought with force 9 gales for about 2 hours between 1 and 3 o'clock in the morning. We are now repumping the dinghy. We packed it away for the storm. We weren't really sure what would be the better idea, whether to pack it away and to get some complexity out of the game should things turn sour, or whether we should keep it as an additional means of emergency, so some floating device if anything would happen and we would have to get off the boat. It's certainly, in conditions here, in the situation here, preferable to have an engine on your floating device than just having to resort to a life raft that is being swept around.